Injury Control Council are very important here in WA. They do some fantastic work. To talk about their Injury Control Council week that's coming up in October, here's Kama.
Thanks, Fred. I'm joined today on the couch by two lovely ladies. We've got Megan Farley from the Injury Control Council of WA and Professor Colleen Hayward, who is the patron of Community Safety Month.
Hi.
Thank you very much for joining us today, ladies.
Hi,
Megan, I'll go to you first. Can you tell us a bit about Community Safety Month?
Yeah, Community Safety Month has been running for about 10 years and it's a fantastic promotional campaign which we at Injury Control Council, it's just all about celebrating and promoting all of the safety initiatives, the injury prevention initiatives and research and programs and activities that are running across the state during the month of October.
Great. So we've got Professor Colleen Hayward here with us, and she's the patron for this year. And you also work at ECU in more of a research area with Aboriginals in particular. Can you tell us a bit more about what you do?
Yes, I do. I've worked with Edith Cowan University, ECU, for nearly 5 years. When I was recruited, it was to head the Indigenous Centre at ECU. Our name is Kurunkulkatajan, which is a Noongar phrase meaning coming together to learn, which is just gorgeous in terms of what the university and that centre is about. And for the last 2 years, I've also been Edith Cowan's Pro Vice-Chancellor for Equity and Indigenous across the university. So I oversee our teaching program, our research agenda, and of course all the Aboriginal cultural activities across ECU. So it's a pretty exciting job and one that I love.
Yeah, and lots of variety, lots of different things happening in there as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So with your experience, can you tell us what are the major areas that you see in terms of the Aboriginal population in relation to safety?
One of the things that's interesting is that there's a lot of things that are similar between the Aboriginal population and the non-Aboriginal population in Western Australia, and some things that are a little bit different. One of the things that we know, for instance, that's right up there is that there are still way too many deaths and serious injuries from road trauma. Some of that is in car accidents, but also pedestrians. And I know even though I live really close to the campus where I work, even driving to and from the office each day, you've really, as a driver, you've really got to be on the lookout. People tend not to take enough notice of what's happening around them. They tend not to look, and if they're on the phone or they're listening to music, they don't hear you coming either. One of the things that I've also noticed, and I don't know why this is happening, but it certainly seems to be happening, is that we just about don't see cycle riders now with helmets. That seems, at least in the area where I live, to have gone by the board. Now, that's a pretty dangerous situation, and as you can imagine, any road death or serious accident is going to be traumatic for the person's family, for anyone who witnesses it, for anybody who knows. So for instance, if we're talking about children at school, it'll impact on every other child in the school. Of course, if it's a car accident, the driver of the car, any passengers, it goes on and on in terms of impact. And I think sometimes that can be underestimated. So that's pretty common between, we know, Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal people, but we know as well that for Aboriginal people there's a higher incidence of seriousness around their health when it comes to infection and also fire, which I think some of your viewers might find a bit serious and a bit different. I'm talking, of course, about more rural and remote areas where people may be cooking over open fires, or it may be a campsite where people roll onto a fire in their sleep. So some pretty serious things that are, some that are the same and some that are a bit different as well.
Would you say then that it's to do with the area or the region that it's in, and so different issues are occurring in different pockets around WA?
There is some of that. We know, for instance, that in some country areas, medical attention may not be as easily accessible if somebody gets an infection. It might be some time, so the infection could have really taken hold in a person's body before they're able to access a medical appointment. or to get somewhere where there is a doctor where they could be prescribed antibiotics. So we know that some of those things are very real. And of course, for all of, you know, especially young children, water safety is also a huge issue.
How do you think we deal as a community with all of these issues?
I think in some ways we've got better. We know, for instance, when we think about road trauma, we're all used to the fact now that when kids are coming and going to school, there's a 40k speed limit around schools. Once upon a time that wasn't the case. And I know certainly when I was teaching, there were a number of really awful incidents where you'd let the kids out from a great day at school and they'd run across the road, and I remember one in particular being hit and killed. Now, the fact that speed limits now are reduced lessens that chance, providing people do the right thing in terms of obeying the speed limit. I think some of our messaging around water safety is much better. But I think that one of the things that we have to do is get more clever about making sure that the messages we put out are understood by the people who need to understand them. And that might mean some different kind of messaging for the Aboriginal community.
That's understandable. So that's one side that we can look at, is looking at how we can change the messaging for people. But for people today, right now, from this day forward, do you have any advice to them on what they can do?
I think for me, in thinking about this session and this conversation, one of the things that really occurs to me is that we actually need to take better care of ourselves and everyone around us, whether they're family, friends, or somebody that you bump into down at the shop. You don't have to know people, I think, to be on the lookout for, does this person look like they're doing okay? Do they look like they're safe? Are they, whatever they're doing, does it look like it's happening in a safe way? And while all of us will be a bit nervous about intervening in situations, I think sometimes it can be just asking somebody if they're okay or if they're managing all right, I think is a great thing socially and certainly for Western Australian society.
That's great. So even though we have Community Safety Month, what you're saying essentially is that this needs to carry on all the time.
I think it does. I think we can be more careful with each other, more careful and more caring. You know, we all joke about Perth drivers not knowing how to merge. You know, it's one of the things that I hope over time doesn't identify us as a city of drivers anymore, but right now it's there. You know, if we were a bit more aware of who else was on the road and what their needs are, and, you know, maybe it will take us 2 or 3 minutes longer to get someplace, but it's much better to get there safe.
Great advice, Colleen. And Megan, anything else you want to tell people about for Community Safety Month, how they can get involved if they want to run their own events?
Yeah, thank you. I think Colleen's just brought up so many great ideas of how you can get involved with community safety. We've mentioned there's lots of topics from water safety, burns, infections, road, safety, car seat restraints and things like that. So there's lots of ideas out there. Injury Control Centre, we can help to link you. So if you want to contact us to get in touch with Surf Life Saving or burns units or things like that, we can certainly help to provide information that you can hold an event. And we would like everyone to contact the Injury Control Council of WA. Let us know that you're either hosting an event or that you want to host an event, and we can help send out some goodies to help you on the day.